Cardfight Vanguard has been booming in popularity this year, with the Vanguard Divines anime getting a lot of attention, and tournament participation, especially across Asia, been hitting record high numbers. 1,700 players plus for Tokyo, over 1,000 participants between side events and merch booths for all the smaller regional events across Japan. WGPs all over Southeast Asia, including Singapore, hitting record high numbers and overselling capacity of their venues and not being able to even fit everyone inside. The game's been definitely popping off in popularity, but it does feel like there's still a lot more the Bushiroad could be doing in order to capitalize off of that current growth right now, which both myself and WCC Kai feel like they're not doing enough of. Today's video is going to be my reaction to WCC Kai's video on the State of Vanguard in 2024. This is taken from my stream over on twitch.tv/DifferentFight, where you can watch the full VOD over there as long as it's available. This video is very long, and therefore feel free to tab out and enjoy it as a podcast or just a radio in the background. But we did both have quite a lot to say between his video and my discussion on stream, so I hope you do enjoy it.
It's a perfect time to talk about Vanguard and where it's at in 2024. I just want to do it something special while I'm on a bit of a holidays. You know, the products that are coming out, the events that are coming out, the just Vanguard.
Is it a VTuber hat? Isn't it just an activist hat? I'm pretty sure it's a VTuber hat. I don't think it's
formats right now. Just kind of go through that. So it'll probably be a bit longer.
All right, events.
Stuff about events and pricing, right? They're all kind of the thing. I think right now with events, ever since Springfest was so bad, they kind of improved the pricing at least. We saw some of the increased pricing and better top cuts in the upcoming BCS season, which is good.
Yeah, so if you're not aware, for Springfest, the pricing was really bad, honestly. Only the winners got something. Everyone else got like a PR pat on the back. There was a lot of feedback given to Bushiroad saying, hey, if you don't do the pricing right, look around at all the other companies, like especially like Lorcana and One Piece lately, and then, you know, Pokemon gives crazy cash pricing. It's like, you don't want to be, you know, you see Yu-Gi-Oh! And they talk about the switches and the bad pricing. So I think Vanguard managed to respond pretty quickly, and for BCS, they managed to adjust it pretty all right, I would say. I think it's, you know, the energy generators and like all the prize cards and the promo packs and stuff, I think are pretty good.
I think what we shouldn't do is just let it rest and go, we've done enough, because
very good point.
We really haven't. We haven't done enough. I think doing what the pricing is for BCS is just the starting stone. It's like getting in touch with the rest of the world. There's still a lot of good things we can do for events. Right now, I think one of the biggest issues we have is just the two big events that happen in the year. That's BSF and BCS. And what's going to happen to BSF next year? I don't know, because it's not going to be. Actually, it might be spring when it happens in Australia, at least. Not for the rest of the world. But
I guess that's true. But yeah, so for those of you unaware, Vanguard has two competitive seasons. One is in the first half of the year called Springfest, called BSF, and the second half, which is BCS, which is Bushiroad Championship Series. And the BCS season this year lasts extra long this year. So it goes up all the way to March, sometime in like mid-March, quite late, which means that Worlds is happening even later than that, which then means that the usual start time for Bushiroad Springfest is not going to be starting on time. So then is it going to be Summerfest? Like they're going to just do 3 months of Springfest, but it's Summerfest. I mean, Springfest Online was in the summer. Never stopped them to do a Springfest in the summer before, but you know, I guess we'll see.
But yeah, BSF is kind of in a weird situation where
I do think that naming could be changed at this point, though. I feel like Bushiroad Springfest has been around for a very long time without really being challenged. Like, we could just be having more catchy sounding names that are more clear on what they're offering. Like, I think back when Team League was just called Team League, I think it was a pretty cool naming that was clear, right? Concise. Might as well just do it again, right?
Our next BSF is after Worlds, and that might not be spring. it happened pretty late, just depending on the schedule. But I also think we should have a third circuit, right? And it doesn't have to be a real big circuit. It doesn't have to be like a BCS circuit. And
flagships. I'm saying you can do flagships, or you can basically do like take a, I don't know, freaking if we're to do it right now, right? Do a like fated one, do like a freaking, like literally the Liel they gave away in the Twitter campaign with, they could have done that, into like, you can do tournaments that run for like a 2 or 3 month season where that is the prize card for coming first. You put a serial number on each of the different ones, and then like top 8 gets some other prize card with an alt-art as a prize too. Like, these don't give invites to nationals or worlds or anything. They're just there as their own cups, but you get something else to work for, right? And I think that would be a very nice thing to like run alongside the current competitive circuits.
It just needs something to be more local based. I've always talked about how good the VMC thing was back in Japan, way back during V, and I think it's pretty sad that they kind of got rid of it, at least because of things that happened. But it's not like you can't do another circuit. Maybe one that is more locals based, maybe one that is more competitive, right? There's a lot of things you can do at a local level, and then, you know, kind of bring it in for a big nationals sometime during the year where it's like invite based, so you don't have to pay a lot of money to get venue space, for example. But it still will give good prizes to incentivize people to travel to these events. So I think a third circuit is needed, something that kind of goes on, because another big problem with the BCS and BSF is a lot of places get one in their country, and if that's all you have, that's basically not a lot of time for you to play. So
that's a very good point. I think especially if you live in more remote areas, like, you know, I guess like in Mexico or like in South America, Australia, you know, just Oceania in general, I guess. It's like if you only have like 1 or 2 events in a season, then it's like, well, while this event is done, what do I do now? I wait until the next season. I don't know when that even starts now. I guess I'll just go play a different game, right? It's like, if you didn't qualify for Worlds, it's like, well, you keep going to locals, you keep playing the game, but you want an extra reason, I guess, like to have some goals, right? It's always fun to have goals. I think for me, I always enjoy card games. Like, I enjoy just playing card games with friends, right? But when I have like a goal for myself while I'm playing card games, like, you know, I have like a little tournament coming up, right? Like I have a city league for Pokemon coming up next week. And, you know, I'm playtesting Pokemon for that now because it's like, well, I'm excited for that. I want to get top 8. I want to earn myself some points for a nationals invite, you know, and stuff like that. That's like, you know, quite motivating to keep a game on the side, right? And I think for Vanguard, we could really use that. I think they've been doing okay with like the Vanguard Day and like the Constructed Cup stuff, but like more of that. I think more of that really doesn't hurt.
If there are just more events that are happening,
yeah, Latin America really needs more stuff.
There's definitely more reasons to spend, right? So that's me with this third circuit. I've been talking about it for quite a bit, and I feel like it's something they really need to implement, because a lot of other games right now, they have circuits going on all year. They're not limited to like a BCS or a BSF circuit. They just have events that qualify you to things. Maybe not Yu-Gi-Oh! For Europe, but at least for Pokemon, there's regionals throughout the year. All of them provide you with points to go to Worlds. Every single locals and big locals that happen, they all provide you for points to Worlds. So it's always relevant, and it's always numerous to have events that are just happening. Same thing for One Piece. I recently started playing One Piece, and I'm really impressed at how many events I can join. I basically joined 2 regional events that are happening offline. They have online regionals as well, and those happen all the time. I don't join them because I'm not a huge fan of online regionals. Everyone's seen those videos, right? The videos of all the cheaters and all that. So I'm not a huge fan, but if you want to join and play events, they are available to you. So I think that's good. That's just a good thing. And there's still a lot of regionals coming up. I think, you know, there's one this week in New Zealand that I can technically travel to. There's one in, I think, November in Adelaide. So there's just so many regional events that I can join that doesn't happen for Bushiroad. And I can understand, like, you know, the IP is different. One Piece is big. Vanguard, not as big. So when you have regional events for One Piece, they're getting like maxed out 300, 500, at least for Australia. In America, I'm pretty sure it's different. But at least for Vanguard, you know, have more events that we can at least participate in. One thing I do like is they have the release tournaments where you can only...
Okay, I was waiting to see if you would touch on that, because I do think the release tournaments are really nice. But I do definitely agree, like, it's... Some parts of the world are blessed. Like, when you look at the American BCS schedule, and it feels like there's a BCS to go to all the time. Although when you do compare like the Pokemon and like, or like in One Piece schedules to Vanguard's, especially outside of America, it's like, oof. Feels like One Piece is big and Vanguard isn't as big, but not having events will also stop Vanguard from growing further. Yeah, it's also just like, you know, I think One Piece is quite actively trying to position itself as the 4th biggest card game, and it has quite aggressively been marketing itself towards people that play card games that are not in the top 3, but also to the people that play the top 3 as well. and it's been very successful at that. And I think it's also, you know, important that the games that got that One Piece took them away from, they also come up too.
Play ride lines from the later sets.
Europe
That's
6
cool,
BCSs.
but I feel like that's not enough. I feel like we need more support for every single Vanguard format, at least, you know, standard, big, but also premium, right? We've seen a lot of people, at least in the West, care a lot of premium, and I feel like the format's really not getting that much love. So having more events for that can at least get people motivated to buy cards, try out new things, and, you know, just have fun. Just have fun. So that's me with events. More events is better. I think Worlds events as well. It's coming out. Everyone's thinking it's like Vanguard. They haven't confirmed anything. I'm pretty sure we're going to find out very soon. But one thing I want to say is that when we have these events as well, especially Worlds, since it's the only event that happens for the biggest event for Vanguard, at least, right? You got to make sure it's always better than the last. You can't go back. You can't like backtrack, backstep.
I have a feeling he's going to say something very important because, like, you know, I talk to Kai all the time. Like, we text each other every single day. So we've had a lot of the conversations that he's talking about in this video. But I think what he's about to say is very important. Because
once you do that, it shows less confidence in your product. So if we have it at like Daivangasai, I hope we just have, you know, I hope that the quality is just as good as it was compared to before. Right? And at least the same, if not better. Always improving. Never go backwards. One thing I also want to say about events is, this isn't Vanguard related, but this is more Shadowverse related. So that Grand Showdown as well, this is one thing that I think I've been talking about quite a lot, but I feel like that Grand Showdown that they're doing, there's not enough support or marketing or whatever that they've been doing for it. It's just been, I don't even see it. It's happening at the end of this month, the first one for NA, but I'm not sure how much they've promoted it. I really don't know what's happening with it, except if I actively search it. And if you're doing a continental levels event like this, just a big event overall, you need to go all the way. Right? You can't just go half steps, right? When I check some of the event schedule, it's like, you know, 1 day event, you get a nice card for a participation prize, it's best of one, top 8. Is this really a grand showdown, or is it just like a glorified locals? I don't know, because there is no way I'm paying money to fly to America to participate in this. Am I going to fly to Singapore to participate in this? Probably not as well, because to be fair, the like BCS prices look better than Grand Showdown. So yeah, so we also I've talked about this with a lot of people too, and also like internally with people at Bouchard too. It's like, I do feel like the Grand Showdowns definitely got presented, you know. I was also kind of recommending them and pushing them as like IC tier events, like the internationals. And I do think that they had the potential of that, but the amount of advertising and marketing for the Grand Showdown has not been anywhere near what it should have been. Like, you know, if I tell you what an okay, so for the people in chat right now, if I say there's a tournament called an IC or an international, do you know what that means? Or if you don't, what does it sound like to you? What does an IC sound like? What does it imply in international, like in international? Yeah, so some know. International circuit, sort of, yes. So any other answers? I'll pick up whatever you guys say. International competition, yes. Right, so like the name already kind of gives it away, right? Anyone from anywhere can join. That's good, right? Keep them coming. So the thing with ICs is that ICs, internationals, are a tier of Pokemon events, which are, you have worlds, and then you've got regionals here. ICs are the thing after, the next best thing after worlds. So if you win an IC, if you win an international, you're like, the only step above that is winning worlds, right? So it's the next coolest thing after winning worlds, right? Regional champions, there's so many of them, right? But like an international champion, they happen 3 times a year, once in Latin America, once in North America, and once in Europe. And anyone from anywhere in the world can participate in them. They can get worlds invites in them. They get all kinds of exclusive swag and like goodies, playmats, deck boxes, dice, like mugs, all that kind of stuff. Anything you can imagine. All the exclusive stuff with like the branding of the tournament on it for just participating. And then you can buy more stuff in the exclusive Pokemon Center, right? So it's like the exclusivity goes on and on and on. So you paying money to fly there and go there, you get so much stuff to commemorate it, right? There's so much like of that prestige is already felt just from being there.
And then if you win it, it's like, as you know, in chat, Nofumi is saying, is like, it's the Grand Slam tournament for Pokemon, right? And I wanted the Grand Showdowns for Evolve to also have that kind of connotation. And I think the people, you know, working on the events also do want to, but there's just not enough marketing for them to have that kind of connotation, like right now whatsoever, right? And that kind of, in order to have this level of prestige for the event, you have to market it to a certain extent. You do have to, you know, push that sort of prestige to it. You have to invest resources and whatnot into it as well, right? And they've been investing some resources, right? They put out, like, there was a video going over like decks you can expect at the tournament. There will be a stream, but it's just leading up to the stream and the event itself, it feels like there should be more. But you know, I'm not in a position where I can actually change that. So much of this stuff is cool, but it would require Bushiroad to invest proactively, which they seem reluctant to do at the moment. Yeah. This is a chicken and egg problem. This can help grow the game, but at the same time, they can't do it with a diverse spread of competitors globally. Yeah, it's a bit difficult. The general strategy to do it is definitely there. They could have, I think there's definitely better marketing approaches. I think sometimes with marketing, you just want to, like, I saw an interesting tweet that was like, if you're making a company or like a startup or something and you need somebody to market it, just hire like a 22-year-old that's very media savvy and just let them post as if it's their own account or whatever. I think Bushiroad's problem is just that they don't understand global and is very hesitant doing anything. They are so risk averse and are content with doing whatever worked in Japan. Yes, I think this is like an infinite issue that is like a negative feedback loop where it's like this constant feedback I've had to them as well is like, just because something works in Japan, you can't just blindly apply it to the rest of the world. There are some things you can. The good pricing of current Japanese Vanguard events, when applied to the BCS circuit this year, works out. You literally just copy pasted the pricing, but it's good, so it's fine, right? Good pricing, you know, as long as the cards are popular, it's fine, it'll work. But marketing strategies and stuff like that, it's like, you really have to apply it a little bit more to the setting that you're working with. Do you think it's a logistics issue? Yes, I do think Bushi is just, especially Bushiroad International is a much smaller company compared to like the international departments of Bandai or Konami, etc. Especially because I think a lot of Bandai stuff is like they have a lot of their international team in Japan, from what I've heard. One thing we tend to forget a lot of the times, that I got reminded, I met up with a friend of mine who used to work for Bushiroad. That isn't Matt. He quit way before Matt. And he works at a different company now, but he told me about, I don't know if you guys probably don't remember, but Bushiroad used to be a private company and then they went public with like stakeholders at one point. And when you go public and you have stakeholders, they get to have a say in what you produce. So then even if you thought something is a good idea and you want to do this, if the stakeholder doesn't, then you're gonna have to cut the fat a little bit, right? And so it's definitely a thing. Hearing back from Bushi takes so long, it can be very difficult to follow up on people who want to produce stuff for the community. Yes. And there's multiple layers to that as well. Game is there for more than 10 years and it feels like it's always the melty blood of TCG in the West. Oh, you really nailed it in the coffin there. But anyway, we're only 6 minutes into this video. Let's keep listening to what Kai has to say.
If you're gonna do a big event, you have to make sure you go all the way with it, and you can't just say, let's go halfway and call it a day, because then it becomes a big waste of money. And when you make big events, you have to make sure you execute, and the amount of effort that goes into it is like not just 2x, it's more like 4x, like way more, because way more money is invested, but there's also way more manpower that you want to happen, and you want to make sure that the event goes off without a hitch and it's satisfying for everyone involved, right? The worst thing people want to do is they travel to this event and they go, it was really boring, so much for a continental event. Like, you have to understand that the scale of this should be larger than BCS regionals. This is continental level because you're having it one in each continent. And I think the tide is going up, so I might be bad. But yeah, it's like a continental event, so it needs to have continental level support. As well as, you know, the entry price and all that. I can understand, sure, it's a free entry, so the participation prize is bad. No, that can't be it. You can't do that. Even though you have free entry, you can't have bad participation prizes. I think...
Like, I'm also going to quickly butt in here. Back in, I want to say BCS 2016, Springfest 2018... and also like BCS 2014, these random years here and there, we got like BCSs and like Bushort events have always been free. I don't remember a time when I had to pay an entry fee for a Bushort event, unless it was like at a con that had paid entry that then the regional was inside of. But at these events, they actually gave out playmats as entry prizes. So some of you might remember there was a Chrono and Kazuma Gize like GBT 14 playmat. Some might remember in 2014 it was the Legion Mate Kai with like the Legion Mate characters on it playmat with like the zones on it. And then I think in 2016 in G we had a BCS season where the entry prize mat was like a Tri 3 playmat. So it had like Chrono, Shion, and Tokuha on it as well. And those, especially that last one was a super pretty mat. And you got that for free. And I feel like for these events, at the very least, giving a playmat for entry, if you've done it before, right? Those were for regionals. Those were from regionals or Springfest, which are basically team regionals. This is your continental level event. It doesn't, I feel like that kind of effort would go such a long way if you get a playmat exclusive to this event, hell, exclusive to that region, right? If that playmat is like NA only playmat for, let's say, like to commemorate set 6, right? So you take like you don't even have to make new art. Obviously it's cooler if you do, but you know, let's say take one for set 6, boom, that's the playmat. Then next one in December, whichever set is out before that one, boom, that's the playmat for that one. Then same thing in spring for Europe, right? And that's why the GPs in Japan work quite well, is because the GPs each have a different playmat that you can buy. And there's also have a different playmat that you get as a top 64 prize to commemorate whatever like meta is during that time. I definitely like the low playmats for entry for Springfest, especially like to me, going with friends that were participating in a BCS or a regional scale event for the very first time in their lives, where they, until then, they used the playmat from like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or like a typical like Ultra Pro whatever playmat that you can buy in any card shop. And then them getting that regional exclusive playmat and being like, oh my god, finally have a Vanguard mat, right? That's like, that, seeing that in a new player's hands was like such a nice feeling too. Obviously like the top 8 mats have like prestige, but for the new players that just started playing, and right now you've got a lot of new players that just started playing, them getting that is all the more heavy in my opinion. That has so much more weight to it. So Intercontinental Legion one is so nice as I'll have it. That one was from BCS.
Overall, when it comes to entry costs, entry fees, that is the least that people care about, because they're already traveling so much to go to this event. They're paying money for flights, fuel, hotel, accommodation, time spent preparing for the event. They're paying $30, $60, or whatever the price is. They don't really care, because they're already spending so much for everything else. I can guarantee.
That's the thing, right? All these events, like, I think Bandai is not afraid to charge entry fees and give more stuff in exchange for the entry fee, because they know that you are already paying to be there. You're paying for the travel cost, you're paying for the hotel cost, like, unless you live in that area, right? But then even if you live in the area, right, you're paying 20, 30, 40 bucks to go out with your friends sometimes, right? It's like, well, what's 20, 30, 40 bucks to get some exclusive stuff at an event just to be able to play in it? Can you Switch?
For other events,
Great
Pokemon,
question.
they're charging $60 for this, and they're getting
right now.
over 2,000 players at these events. Sold out immediately.
Let me listen.
They don't really care, because they're already spending so much for everything else. I can guarantee you, for other events, Pokemon, they're charging.
When we did a VGCS last year with good pricing, people complained about 30 quid entry for a team, so 10 per person. That's crazy. In Japan, the regional cups, so the WGPs are free, but the regional cups do have entry fee, and it's usually about 20 bucks per person. You get like, or is it 10 or 20? I think it was 20 at one point, but it's been 10 lately, I want to say. But you do get a pack of sleeves for entry, exclusive sleeves too. So events are a financial loss, but sure cannot afford it, and if they can, I think that money can be better spent elsewhere. Like it's like esports. I don't know. Events. Here, Penguin, are you an employee? are you defending the company right now? Their argument was if we lose, we get nothing, which like BCS is the same, also Top Cut split a case. Well, yeah, then I think you do want to give something. If you do charge an entry fee, you should give something to everyone that comes, right? So Like Ultimate charges an entry fee. They still, you know, fill up venues with hundreds of people. And they do give usually like either a voucher for whatever store that it's being held at, or they give like the little acrylic energy counter, like thing coin that you can put on your, you know, snakes and ladders and stuff like that. So 20-team blaster blade sleeves, yeah, they gave those during the
much for everything else. I can guarantee you for other events, Pokemon, they're charging $60 for this, and they're getting over 2,000 players at these events. Sold out immediately. One Piece as well, sold out immediately. For Australia, 60 AUD for it. They give you 6 packs. They give you 6 packs for joining. That's like, one pack is $10. That's a retail price, but you're getting you're paying for your worth. No one cares. The potential
one pack is one pack actually 10 Australian dollars, or is he just saying like that's the conversion from the entry fee?
Return on these products is there, because a pack, you might get nothing. You might get a $1,000 rare or something. And so as long as the potential value is there, people don't really care. People don't really care. But if you're making these events and you're losing so much money, you might want to rethink your strategy of not charging entry costs. And if that's impacted prizes and participation prizes, for example, then you really have to change that. Entry fee, like free entry fee.
One Vanguard pack is 8 AUD. Oh, I guess it might be 10 AUD then, yeah. Australian moolah. But yeah.
Was really cool back in 2007, but now the market has changed. It's 2024. Everyone is doing all this entry stuff, giving you random stuff for joining. They give you a backpack sometimes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's insane. So I think it's important that you rethink that strategy if it's not working and just get with the times. That's just kind of my rant. But in terms of the Grand Showdown, and probably what it should have been is they should have just made a bigger local Shadowverse circuit where it's actually relevant for you to join. Because remember, you can't just make, unless you're going balls to the walls and just making a huge tournament like a $1 million prize, no one's gonna join unless the prizes are amazing. So
Penguin. So esports are a money sink and financially unviable without sponsors. I don't see how events for TCGs can be even break even. Companies like Konami and Bandai can take those hits no problem. So the thing is, right, events are usually run at a loss. That is, everyone knows that. However, the point is that if you want to sell products, you have to have events. Because if you don't have events, people will not buy product. So the more, if you want to make more money from if your game is not collector oriented, right? The majority of card games are player oriented in this current modern day and age. And if you want your player oriented card game to sell, if you don't have a reason, if you don't give these players a reason to play and buy the latest cards, then your sales will be impacted. So running events is a loss. Okay, let's get rid of events. Well, now you got rid of all of your player base, because now it's like, well, why would I buy this? And the game dies. Now your whole income is gone. Card games, generally speaking, I've talked to people that work for card game companies, not Bushiroad, that have told me that running a card game itself is like sustainable at a pretty cheap level. So it doesn't take necessarily that much for a card game to sell for it to already sustain itself in sales in terms of the manufacturing costs and shipping costs, etc. And then if you have a popular card game and you're making a lot of money from it, then using that money to inject it into third-party things, or, you know, supplementary things like events, or, you know, a manga, an anime, an app, all those things, then you start thinking about, okay, some of these things will cause me a negative, but they will have bonus effects on the product sales. So in the bigger picture, it does make more money. And then you think about things like the digital side, which is like, if it's successful, it can be a huge growth in terms of income and also size for the general awareness of the brand, or it can be a loss too, right? So it's that or the other. It's a classic case of you create a problem, your deck is bad in events, and sell them the solution, which is buying product, but without the tournaments, there is no issue they need to fill. Yeah, that's part of it. I agree that there are investments where we're talking about adding more events than what we have now. We need better ways to promote the game. No, but the events that we're asking to be added, at least the events that I'm asking to be added are not, I'm not asking for necessarily just more regionals. What I meant, okay, so if you don't know, One Piece TCG has flagships. Flagship tournaments are held by stores. The pricing is sent by the company to the stores organize it under a strict 64-man player cap, and they give out prize cards that are worth a lot of money. And you get a prize card for winning or for like being undefeated, like top 2 or whatever, and you also get a different prize card for getting top cut. And as a result, you don't actually pay venue fees because the stores are the ones hosting it. So any store that fits your player cap level requirement, right? So a store with only 16 player spots, sadly, will not be able to host a flagship. But any store that does get to do that gets to host it. And thus you get more and more players invested in the game because you give them events at a local level to participate in with really attractive prizes. And you are also, at the same time, not spending money on venue fees or travel fees for staff because these are events run locally, right?
They'll go there and then buy more product, and they'll buy sleeves and all that. So it's like a circle of life. That's why I'm saying the third circuit, the third big event, should be more on the local scene. Imagine like Pokemon League Cups and League Challenges. You have a bunch of monthly tournaments, quarterly tournaments that qualify you to specific things, and then that kind of leads you to unsponsored Worlds invites and things like that. So that's kind of my plan with third circuit events. Moving on to products. So one of the biggest issues with product.
All right, that was already. We've already been talking about this for 30. We've gone through 11 minutes of the video. We've been here for over 30 minutes talking about what he talks about. This is a good video.
Recently has been entry-level product into Vanguard.
Oh, he opened the big can of worms. This is the one that I don't think you can open a stream of mine in these last few months without me bringing this one up.
And I mean, they've announced that Virgila trial deck, which is a good start, and that's like the bare minimum though. We haven't had
average react streamer duration
tried deck entry-level product for a very long time. Now you could say quick start decks, those aren't product. They're literally not product. I see a lot of them just sitting on shelves because they're bad. Like they're just
when Kai laughs like this, this is it. That's the like I've known this guy for so many years. That laugh he just did, that's what shit is fucked. Rock bottom, unsalvageable. Like, this is like the last thing you see before you're hit by a train. Like, it's literally the most defeated laugh you will ever see. There's no hope. It's literally over. that like
bad. Like they're just
this is if you ever see Kai do this laugh in front of you, turn around or like either drop like you this is it. It's rock bottom. Correct the Kai Dooms laugh. Yeah, dude, this is like me and Derek know this is probably the best out of everyone in the community.
No one wants them. The only reason why they want them is for the energy generator. Virgila start deck, it's okay. It's getting us on the start line again for entry-level product. But you know what I'm going to really...
Remember when Overdose first began, had those amazing starter decks? We all do. We all do. If you watch my stream on, what was it, Sunday? I brought up some interesting new entry product ideas. Bushiroad. I'm literally... You don't pay me for this stream. I know there's Bushiroad staff watching this, apparently.
Complain about is the timing. So we're gonna have start deck. I think the starter deck is coming out in November, something like that. And then we have the Nairo set. Is that coming out like end of January or like in early February or something like that? So we have.
I think it's somewhere in January, right?
All our starter deck product in the first quarter of one quarter of the year.
10 and 12
and then we just have like nothing for the rest of the year until the next stride deck. That's not good enough, right? That's honestly not good. We need to have like start deck product or starter product or entry level product pumping out every couple of months. Every couple of months, we need more and more and more. So just whenever you want to enter Vanguard, you can.
Still wonder how much MotoGP Living influenced current standards direction. There's a lot of nuance and things with MotoGP. Like I think MotoGP had a very good vision for marketing, and I think MotoGP filled the gaps that Bushiroad was weak in when it came to Vanguard. But I think they put him in the wrong role. I think he should have been responsible for marketing. He should have been responsible for that kind of like growth side of the game, especially within regards to like communication with the overseas market. But you know, under ModiP, we had a year of Bruce and Bastion meta. Under ModiP, we got the overtrigger. You know, under ModiP, we had some pretty poor game balance in the first year of Overdress. So I think there are good and bad. I do think the game balance has been way more fun in the last couple of years. The game has grown insanely in this year, especially ever since Divines. Like whoever came up with Divines, like I don't know if it's the current producer. Probably, I kind of doubt it. It's probably just a team effort. Divines is like ModiP had gave us hope because he was very targeting the overseas audience. He helped premium a lot. He was very fast at responding. He was very spontaneous, and I think that was very good. And I think he should have stayed around at the company and with Vanguard for a longer period of time. I just feel like we kind of traded the good things he brought for a lot of good things. Like right now we're going through a lot of good things overall, right? Good pricing, fun metas overall, I would say, and Divine, like good anime, all this kind of stuff. But it does feel like he had that aspect of communication that was very, very good that I wish they kept him around for. But he's also, you know, a very prolific guy that, you know, has done so much for different games. It's crazy. I don't know how much of this, so I know a lot of the things that he does because I know him personally. I don't know how much of it he states publicly, so I'm not going to talk about it, but it's insane how much he does. He's a very, very talented guy. But I think in Vanguard specifically, his talents should have been focused on what I was saying.
Just buy a product and it'd be good. I guess I also have to talk about timing. Something about timing that's really annoying me back in events is that all of the AO events, there's like so many of it happening in December. Bro, spread it out like America.
100%. Also Europe too. Like Europe at least has, I think, one BCS per month, but why do they start so late compared to America? But also looking at like Asia and Oceania for BCS season, it's like, why is everything in the holiday period? There's so much in the holiday period.
I have one every month. So that's just the main thing. We don't have really any starter deck product, entry-level product. We need more. We honestly need more. I've been talking about it with like DF and all that. Something that'd be really cool is you have...
Whoa, DF mentioned. DF mentioned.
So many of those weak ride lines from before, like Barrow Magnus now, you know, Bav Sagara. We haven't seen anything for that except for a couple of cards. We get like Magnolia support randomly. And when we pull the R Magnolia support from like set 1, we just go, what a day. What a waste of us. What a waste. What about Eugene product? I think I mentioned this in another video. Just make them like a starter deck, release them every couple of months, give them good support, and that'd be good. We had like, honestly, the Office decks, Office Favniel and all that stuff back then, they were actually good decks. They were good start decks. The product packaging was what was wrong. If they released it as like a $20 deck, we just bare bones the deck, I think that'd be great. We don't need sleeves. We don't need deck boxes, especially the deck boxes they give us. Those deck boxes, they're plastic. They don't, well, every deck box is plastic, but they're really flimsy plastic. We don't need that. Just give us the deck, and it's fine. Well, everyone will be happy. I can give this deck, get the cards I need, reprint some important stuff. Good times.
Emphasis on that one, please. Like, using starter deck product to reprint cards that haven't been in print for a long time without necessarily jamming like set ratios is such a good idea. Like Pokemon does this all the time where there are staple trainer cards that sometimes in Japan do end up being a pretty fine price. Like they go into like the $5, $6, $7, sometimes $10 range. And they just reprint them in starter decks all the time because they know that new players need these cards, right? Put the Regulus piece in there. Put the effect triggers in the starter product for a change. Like, it's especially like specifically effect triggers. Like, I hate having to tell a new player, is like, okay, hey, you can buy a Stride X set, but you're going to need to change the triggers. It's like, just put them in the starter deck. You've reprinted them so many times. Like, they have the value. But even if you print them in the starter deck, like, Pokemon is the most opened card game in the world of all. There's no other card game that is opened more than Pokemon. But even Pokemon, the most open card game in the world, with the starter deck reprints they do for these staple trainer cards, they still keep the price. They still go for $2 or $3 or $4, even with the starter deck reprints. Maybe sometimes $1, maybe 90 yen but they still have a price. Even if you reprint the effect triggers in the starter decks, that is not going to change the fact that like the current effect triggers cost $2. Okay, they become $1. Then starter decks have been out of print for a little while, they go back to $2, reprint them again, they go back down to $1. And a card like that is like the bare bones bottom line of what is important in deck, just like effect PGs, should be $1 or less. Like it's fine if you have like chase cards in a set that needs to sell, that needs to make money for the store to keep stocking the game, sure. But these like bare bones cards like effect triggers and PGs that like at this point, just put them in the starter decks. Like you're not going to hurt the stores with that. You're going to hurt the stores if you reprint like the super expensive stuff that they lose big money on. But even with ladder, you know, a lot of stores had to dock down their expensive ladder prices after that reprint, but they weren't afraid to do it. So it's like, just do at the very least the effect triggers and the effect PGs. Pokemon So Open, playing live, I've been able to grind Ultra Ball tier the moment I downloaded the client. The game is so free to play. Yeah, that's also a, like, you know, Pokemon TCG Live runs at a loss. There's also like another, you know, it runs at a loss because the Pokemon TCG is so successful. So other companies can't really do that. But yes, I do agree. PCGL is amazing.
So we just need more of that spread out through the whole year, because they released 3 of those in 1 month, and then that was it, right? I think, funnily enough, the best starter deck product that we've released so far is the premium start decks, because we get so much value from them.
Yeah, the like Musketeer Dual Knight ones.
They're an upgrade to some of the old sets. They contain a lot of cards that you need. So, funnily enough, the best start deck that we've received in this entire year so far has been in premium. And maybe the Virgilist stuff will change it, I don't know.
Yeah, like the premium one was insane, right? Because it had the effect crits, it had Heal Guardians, it had Elementaria Sanctitude, it had Harmonix Messiah. Like, they've shown us that they're capable. They've shown us that they're capable, but they refuse to do it for standard. Like, your biggest, most growing format. You could be having the much greater growth, in my opinion, if I just, like, the worst part is when people ask me, hey, I want to get into Vanguard, what should I buy? What do I tell them? The starter decks from 3 years ago. Stride deck set? Orphis deck set? Like, I'm not going to tell them the QSDs. If you want the energy generator, you're gonna have to buy it eventually, but like, just give us this kind of like product that, you know, like I was saying, you can, even if you don't plan to bring back the original like Team Blackout characters or whatever to the anime, you can just next year starter product, Nirvana Prison, just literally the starters from 3 years ago, redo them again. It can be $10 this time, they don't have to be 5. And you can just make them $10, make them so that you need to buy just fine. You can make it that you need to buy 2. But put reprints, put effect triggers, put PGs, put all that stuff. Like, honestly, if you can make it $20 and just make it you need to buy 1 and that's it, that's even better.
I don't know. It's weird. The best start.
But yeah, like I said, don't add extra worthless stuff in the product. It's not worthless, that's a bit of a harsh word, but like, some people like the sleeves and deck box. I know some people are like, oh, it's so cool, I get a deck box to keep my deck in, but it's like, they can get one. It's like, you can sell it separately too. You know, you've got literally, they just launched Bushiroad products or whatever, like Bushiroad accessories, Bushi supplies or whatever it's called for English Bushiroad, right? They have that exclusive, you know, Vice and like Shadowverse Evolve playmats and stuff that Japan doesn't have. There you go. It's literally just put it under that.
Our deck product has been premium. So your premium product, we need more premium product. Premium's getting pretty stale, but I'll talk more about premium later. But more premium product would be nice, because, you know, people care about premium in the West. So give us, maybe if Japan doesn't care, at least give us something to care about. It could come in the form of a weird thing like a reprint set, for example. If your premium stuff is not selling in Japan, make a reprint set that has some, like, reprint some really cool standard stuff, like a festival collection, but you could put in 1 new stride that's for premium only, right? Or 1 G-Guardian that's for premium only. And that'd be fine. I think people will be...
I heard my voice and woke up. I told my chat every single week, it's the same rinse and repeat. You enter the chat at the beginning, you'll say hello and then radio silence for 2 to 3 hours, and then he'll text me at 2 a.m. and be like, holy shit, dude, fell asleep. Lamau, it's real. I told y'all. He actually passes out.
If you're not a premium player, you're still getting some good reprints, maybe some new cards, a new regular piece, like in Festival Collection. If you are a premium player, then you're getting some really cool new strides. You can also reprint the stride bearers, for example. So, like Asha, reprint.
Kai, by the way, we are 15 minutes into your video. I've been talking and pausing for a total of 51 minutes.
That was an alternate
we'll still be here for a while.
art. Give it like a swimsuit art. Bam, instant sales.
Dude, look at Evolve, man. They put swimsuits on all the staples and just reprinted everything. Did you guys see on Twitter yesterday? That shit looks insane. It's crazy. Just do the same thing with Vanguard. Stop doing just lyrical all the time. Put like, dude, put buff Sagara into a Yukata. Like, do it freaking like, you got this. These units are popular. Trust me. Trust me, they're popular.
People are going to buy that because they can run it in their standard stride decks as the main grade 3, $300. Bam. Easy. That set.
Psy Games is the Gooner studio. I don't know, man. Bushra is not much. Dude, we got a little reputation with our swimsuit arts for lyrical.
Is selling out of the pocket, and premium stuff is good. So you can do something like that. Just use a bit of creativity, and it'll go a long way. It'll honestly go a long way. The other thing with product that I feel like is kind of an issue is just collab product. Why are they coming out so late? It feels kind of bad. We don't know when the collab stuff is coming in the set. Sometimes they're pretty crucial. The set value goes down a lot if we don't have V-Spo for set 3, for example. And some of them.
Yeah, that's a big one. Set 3 in Japan, a lot of the sales, I don't know the specifics, but at least talking to shops, a lot of the sales came from V-Spo. Or like V-Spo being in that set drove a lot of extra sales. It's like, why is that not on time in English? Why don't we even know when it is, right? It's like...
These collab stuff, when they come out, they're already irrelevant. So I don't know how to actually do this, because this is like a collab. This is like the problem with collabs is we don't know when they're going to get supported, when they're going to come out, and when they come out, are they even relevant? Right? Token Rambu set 2, when that came out, did anyone care? I don't know. It's kind of bad. So they definitely need a big improvement on that. And also, set releases. The set releases have been fluctuating so much. Overdress was really hype when we had that one month difference in set release, because we were figuring out like a newish format in a way. But
yeah, that's true. I remember there were a few sets where we'd have a sneak preview, and it was like just after a JP set release.
Now we're at 3 months. The hype is gone. Divine's anime season started, then we got our start deck product. What's the point? Our Divine set 1 came out after Divine's season 1 ended. I don't know. Well, like I know it's pretty hard to do a worldwide release. Not even Pokemon and One Piece do worldwide release for their products. But if you did, you'd have a really good advantage over your competition. And that's something you'd want to consider. Pokemon's kind of weird because sometimes they have nearly worldwide releases, and then it fluctuates based on stuff. We've had releases that were like 1 week apart. That was really hype. New stuff was getting discovered, but yeah, 3 to 4 months, I think that's getting pretty excessive, so yeah.
Yeah, like I think, a 1 to 2 month gap is still like the exciting range, right? They'd have to work very, very, very hand in hand to achieve that. I think the two departments would have to get a lot closer, but man, it's like there's a Pokemon podcast I listen to that they always complain about the gap between releases and between Japan and English, and one of the hosts always says that Japan gets to play more Pokemon than us because they get to play the formats when they're unsolved, when they don't know if these cards are good yet. And like set 4, Divine set 4 is the best example for me. I'm actually working on a video kind of documenting how it's been changing in Japan. And it's like, we walk into Divine set 4, everyone thinks all of these decks are bad. None of them can stand up to Shoujo. And then week by week, each of the decks in the set, whether it's ones like the ones being supported by the set or the new ones introduced in the set, they all end up showing results. They all end up shining in certain ways. But this was like week by week discovery, weekend of results. People look at it, go like, okay, that's interesting. There's an interesting sticking out deck. Let's develop that a little bit more. Next week turns out it's actually really good, pairs really well into these other top decks. That's going to get going to catch on. The week after that, people start catching on to the, it keeps evolving, right? So, and that's always like a very interesting comparison to hear from Pokemon as well, when they say like Japan gets to play more Pokemon than the rest of the world because they get to do the discovery period, whereas English gets the already somewhat discovered format and gets to build upon it, which is, fine, but it's not as exciting, right? That's why Digimon merging next year is such a cool thing to me, because Digimon next year, starting from spring next year, will have united releases between English, Chinese, and Japanese releases. Those three main languages for Digimon card game will be synchronized across the world. And that is huge. That is huge.
Please work on that. That's definitely something that you can do better on. But
1 year fee gap, yeah, it's like Orange. I was texting Orange the other day. She was asking me about Idolmaster, and I was like, oh, you can check out this like documentary I did last year about my experience in the tournament during Idolmaster Meta. She was like, oh, I watched this, but I completely forgot, because I was like, this won't be relevant for me for a year, but I guess that year finally passed.
There's also something that I feel like I've been saying a lot.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is also
one more thing to touch about pricing
synced,
is
right?
I feel like you could do way more with pricing. So alternate art stuff. I feel like alternate art cards would be great. You can have alternate art packs of like energy cyclers that you give to top 16, for example, and that'd be worth something. It'd be pretty easy for you to print for you, but you can give it out to a lot of events and bulk print them. People will be very, very happy. You can involve like the customers on what they want to see reprinted as alt art.
Right. It's like, we were talking about the idea of flagships for Vanguard, right? You do store held, some major tournaments that give the communities something else to compete for. First place prize is like an alt art gun cycler, or like even top 8 prize or whatever, like stuff like that. And that's like insane, right? Because like the people that play those nations will be hunting for them. People that don't have those cards will now have those cards just from competing for them. All that kind of stuff, right?
Even for things like Worlds prizes. Imagine if the winner of Worlds gets to pick a card in their deck, and that gets the Alt Art Championship card art for the next year. So it's like League of Legends, the skins, champion skins. But this is for Vanguard art. Vanguard. So if I won with what's a cool card? With a Chronojet, and I go, man, I want my Chronojet to be champion skin for next year. The prize for next year can be that Chronojet, or
that would be a very cool system. I do think, compared to the other things that Kai has pointed out that need to be done, it's lower on the priority list. I think like events and product are a much bigger priority than the World's Prize, because I think the World's Prize right now is fine. I think it's quite good still. Like having a 1-of-1 art as for the champion card is quite good, I think. But if it was completely original, it'd be even cooler.
Well, the top prize for BCS can be that alternate Chronojet. It look really cool, limited quantities. It'd be crazy. It'd be amazing. They can do that for a lot of things, like World's prizes. You can have like, or I think Magic, they had the World.
Gold flags for Buddy Ho are a bit different.
World's winners got a card that resemble themselves. You could do that too. Have like a starter that resembles the winner and just gets like commission an artist to do it. That can be a nice promo for attending.
Just an energy card. Like it doesn't have to be even like a card that's part of the game. Just make it an energy card, as long as it's something that's usable.
Events and things like that. So I think there's so many more creative ways they can do this without going, we need to design a totally new card. Like when Pokemon is giving $10,000, you can't match that. You can't give $10,000 to coming fourth or whatever. But you can do something interesting like that, which doesn't really have a money value associated to it. Well, everything has a money value associated, but there's kind of charm to it that you don't really get from here's money, here's Luffy alt art, here's a house down payment, for example. It's something cool that only you can do because Vanguard is your IP. And of course the artist, I think, also has a bit of a say in it, but maybe get a list of what the winners would like, and you can make a nice skin, and that kind of just, that kind of makes it so you really want to win. I want to make sure my waifu, Ange or Luquia or whatever, gets an alt art champion skin for next year. That immortalizes my win for a while, and yeah, I think that'll be really cool. I honestly think that'll be really cool. So that's just my ideas from random really.
I do agree. I think it is a cool idea.
Cool worlds prizing, and overall just get creative with prizes.
All
art, everything. You have swimsuits, Valentine's Day. What?
Don't waste me on your.
I don't know what kind of holidays are there that people
world's
care about. Like you can have a gingerbread suit, orange or whatever. I don't know. Like, anything. Okay, swimsuit Luard. Like there we go. Volleyball Rising Nova. Yeah. There's heaps of cool stuff like that. Just think outside of the box a bit. So I think that's pretty much all with product. Let's kind of talk about standard. Let's talk about standard. Standard is cool. So one of the big, I think standard is rising in a lot of player base. Players are playing a lot of standard. It's great. We've seen the numbers rise. I think what's annoying me about standard, apart from the collab thing, is that the game is getting slightly more complex, but is lacking depth. What do I mean by that? How do you make a game harder without making it deeper? So one thing I noticed with a lot of standard Vanguard right now is every single deck comes with a crest, a token crest, a thing that just makes alternate rules. Here's a new keyword that really doesn't matter. Here's new keywords coming back. So we're getting a lot of mechanics bloat, keyword bloat, I guess.
Which was also the issue in G, by the way.
That's kind of cool, but at the same time, it isn't. If I'm a new player, I'm coming in, I'm going, what is overcharge? What is blah blah blah? What is darkness? What is dominate? Can you give me the cliff notes on dominate? And that's not good. That's not good. But at the same time, I feel like the game's not getting any deeper because, one, well, I'll just throw it out. I have to say this in every single video. Over trigger. Pretty bad. Crit triggers. Overall, just triggers are deciding a lot of game states right now because the game itself, like standard, there's not really that many ways for a skilled player to really differentiate themselves, and a lot of it can just be washed away. A lot of min-maxing that you can do in standard, I feel like, is good. It's still important, but it doesn't really change the outcome of the match as you'd want it to be. That hasn't always been the case. But sometimes you feel like standard is just really outside your control, and because we have a lot of things like best of one, top card, and all that, that's just how it is. It's very hard to be consistent in standard. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think there is some truth to what he's saying as well. I do think that, I guess I'm very blessed by being in an environment where I never felt the kind of complexities of, like, some of the complexities of Vanguard in general, I didn't feel until I moved to Japan and had, like, the top players point them out to me in my play. So I personally enjoy standard probably a lot more than Kai does, or the average Western person, I guess. Just because the environment makes me enjoy it more. Like, playing Vanguard in Japan, I think any format feels quite good, but I still sometimes, play other card games on top of that. And it's like, I do definitely get that there are games that, it's both a good and a bad thing, that sometimes you'll make all the right decisions and you will still lose to whether it's like OT or whatever. Just because, well, that's how the game is, right? That's just the rules of the game. And it's, and it's a bad thing that we have to say that, but to others, it's a good thing because that's what makes it exciting. And there are some games that I learned, like One Piece, for example, where I think the game is really cool, but I don't like the game. Like, and what I mean by that is that I think it's very fun to learn One Piece. It's very fun to get better at One Piece. It's very rewarding. You feel really rewarded by getting better at One Piece because it's a very deep game. There's a lot of complexity in it too. But the game itself is not fun. There's nothing that, like, to me just feels like One Piece is a lot of other games, good parts just merged into one game. And that's cool and awesome, but to me it feels like it's missing that oomph that makes it exciting, and Vanguard does have that. So then I have to think to myself, where do I draw the line? Do I enjoy that oomph more than I enjoy the super methodological gameplay that is super rewarding if you're really good at it and putting a lot of time into it? It's like sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, and it's kind of like it's a very complex discussion that is hard to say which one is right. It really depends on the person. Like, even the same person, it might depend on their mood that day, right? It's like I really love Pokemon because to me, Pokemon also, well, it does have variants in a pretty undercover way. It doesn't have triggers, it doesn't have like the big sacking, but it does have a like the prize mechanic, which is Vanguard's damage but backwards, where you put it at the start of the game and you take it as you knock out your opponent's stuff. So you lose stuff in damage the way that you lose stuff in your damage triggers in Vanguard, but it's from the beginning of the game. So you're locked out of those pieces from the very beginning. And the problem is that I really do enjoy Pokemon's gameplay a lot. And it's, to me, it has the oomph of like, you know, your turn is just like you're doing so many things and it's really exciting to play that out. And then Vanguard has, like, in my opinion, the best oomph ever, right? It's so exciting to play, but I always have to kind of accept that there will be times when I will lose because my opponent hit, like, you know, I swung first attack on my kill turn. My opponent hit defensive OT. I already drew my OT, so I can bluff that maybe I have it. Maybe they'll drop a PG for me. That might take me into winning the game. That's part of the rules, right? That's how the game is built. But still can't. So it's like, it's, you know, the game, the thing that's, I think, important is that the game has grown so much this year despite that. These tournaments, especially in Japan and in Southeast Asia, right? Like in Singapore, they have the WGP this weekend, and it's, or at the time of like this stream recording, whatever, is this weekend. But, you know, they hit 500 player capacity. There's people on the waiting list hoping to get in. They don't have big enough venue space to fit all the people that want to play Vanguard this weekend. In Japan, we hit, you know, we're hitting 1,000 players showing up to a bunch of tournaments that aren't even in Tokyo. First in Tokyo, we saw 1,700 players. We're like, holy shit, but this is going to be a one-time thing, right? No, every venue is hitting huge numbers right now. So it also means that, you know, me and Kai, we do find this sort of issue in like, I wish my plays were more rewarded, but the game has grown so much despite that. So there is also this time when I have to kind of look at myself also and go like, well, maybe it's just me then. Maybe, you know, people are enjoying this game and how it is right now, and maybe it's just me that's more bothered by it because I've played card games for so long, and people that have never played card games and start with Vanguard, you know, if this is all they know, they probably don't think too much of it. They're just like, oh, well, card games are random, right? It's like sometimes you don't draw the cards you want and sometimes you do. And it's like, well, technically, yes. And Vanguard elevates that to 11, right? And I think it's, but there are some people, especially the more competitive minded ones, that they go to different games because they're like, well, you know, I don't like the OT and stuff like that. Existence of triggers such as heal triggers makes you play the game out from start to finish and not just scoop. Yeah, and it keeps it exciting from start to finish. That's why I've played Vanguard since the beginning without stopping. That's why I will continue to play Vanguard literally until it ends, because I'm addicted to the dopamine that playing Vanguard gives me, right? It's the most fun card game I've ever played, and it continues to be the most fun card game I've ever played. And that's why I stopped here, is because I notice a lot of Western players, they don't, like, I guess I meet people that literally only started playing Vanguard recently, and to them, this is all they know. They don't know what Vanguard used to be like that before that, and seeing them have fun rubs off on me, and I absorb their fun, kind of. I get to experience it together, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm so glad you're having fun. I'm not going to be the grumpy old man at the park, you know, shouting at birds, right? It's like, if you're having fun, then you know what, this is fun, right? So it's like, but I feel like a lot of Western communities maybe don't have enough of the new blood, or maybe the new blood gets tarnished by the old blood too much to have that sentiment. So I feel like generally it's literally like place versus place Japan. It's like thing versus thing Japan, like Vanguard / Vanguard Japan. It's like I genuinely feel happier playing Vanguard in Japan, and I just have to be very blunt about it, I guess.
My opinion. What is an example of a simple yet deep game? Sir, I'll just throw it out there. One Piece. There's a lot of depth in the game.
We're not being the grumpy people, but it's also warning on game design, because if this is your market and disappears, you're in trouble. Yeah, I think there's 100%. That's why I'm trying to phrase my response with as much nuance as possible, because I think there's no right answer to this discussion, and I think there are a lot of different ways to look at it, and I don't know myself what the right answer is either. Reason why I compare One Piece so much, because it's the newer kid off the block but hitting big. For sure. I think, and I think Hololive might be another one. And to me, it's going to be very interesting to see what Bushiroad does with Hololive, because that's them making it. And if they suddenly pull out like the best competitive structure known to man with Hololive and then don't copy it for their other games is going to be like, well, you were capable of it this whole time. Why aren't you doing it?
Deep game, so I'll just throw it out there. One Piece. There's a lot of depth in the game. The lines on cards, not long. It's like 1-2 lines, very simple effects. The most broken card in One Piece actually that got banned recently is a card that just discard one, draw one. So that's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy. But
it is crazy. Is Bushi making it or are they just publishing it? I think they might be just publishing it. I'm not sure, but Busher is definitely on it. So
because of all these simple effects combined with the deep mechanics in the game, it does allow for a lot of min-maxing to actually matter and allow players to be very consistent. So that's kind of what I want Vanguard standard to really expand upon. Maybe cut down on all the new ride lines. I mean, I know new ride lines are cool, but Lescari is pretty sad. It got one support in like set 2, and now we're never seeing anything for it anymore, except for our
until next week.
Vita or something like that. But yeah, we have so many ride lines, so much mechanics bloat. Maybe we should simplify it. We have 2 new mechanics that got released this year, which is Divine Skill and Energy. Divine Skill's not really a mechanic, let's be real. It's like a once per game mechanic, which is, we've seen it a lot. It's not too deep. Energy is kind of okay. It's a new cost thing. I feel like it might be a bit hard for them to balance. We're seeing how good energy is with things like Shoujo Doji, where you just do it. It's very clear what the combo is. Same with Eva. Very, very clear what you're using the energy for, because it's just designed that way. If you're not playing it that way, then you're playing it wrong. So
it's like I like what one of the examples of where I think they did an interesting design with energy was Dayusha, like the set order, having both subtraction and like plus and minus. It feels like a planeswalker from Magic, kind of like where you have the same card both gains and loses energy for different effects, and the way you balance that ends up rewarding you. And I feel like a lot of the other decks are just like, well, you gain energy automatically, so just use it. Whereas I really liked how D-Row was in Standard took that in a different approach. It was like, well, you're going to gain energy no matter what, but we're also going to be using it and gaining it at the same time. How well will you balance it out? And it's still fairly bare bones, even having said that, but it's what I was hoping more decks to do. And I hope maybe next year, you know, this year, if it's like the easing into energy, next year, maybe they get more explorative with it too.
Overall, energy hasn't really been that deep, in my opinion. You don't really have to manage costs for energy. And in fact,
literally what I said about Dayusha.
Energy might be pretty bad because a lot of costs that would have required counterblast now is replaced by energy, right? For example, Shoujo Doji Grade 3, it's all energy costs. It's not a counterblast cost. So it means that a lot of things you might want to do to deny your opponents from doing something doesn't happen anymore, which is bad. No counterplay is bad, which also contributes to the overall issue with it's hard to be consistent in Standard Vanguard. That's just how it is. So that's kind of my gripes with Standard.
I do agree. Like, I think energy does have that slippery slope of like, you're now, like when you think about how much Shoujo Doji does for 3 energy, it's pretty insane, right? You get to chuck 3 cards into Bind Zone, which is your second hand. You get to steal a card from your opponent's hand. You get to take 2 cards that ignore resist effects from your opponent's board as well. And all of that for 3 energy. And those, like, you know, on surface level, that effect doesn't do much, but in the greater scope of things, you basically plus 3 because the cards you put to Bind Zone will go to your field. And you also minus your opponent 3 because those cards will go to drop or to bot deck for 3 energy. Actually, probably the most broken energy using skill so far.
They need to get deeper. The gameplay needs to get deeper, not wider. I mean, wide is cool, but in a way where, like, you know, there's so many decks that you can play, but if they all do the same thing,
like undeniable multi-attack and opponent minus.
thing.
Yeah, like Shoujo Doji itself, right? It's like it's 3 energy to you get, you know, I guess you can deny the multi-attack after the 4th attack technically, but you know, the plussing of putting 3 cards into your bind is a plus because all of those can hit the board, you know. You can do grade 2 Shoujo from Raidla and 2 other cards that you'll call from Shoujo. The Raidla calls itself, right? So
is there really a point, right? This is the deck that restands. This is the deck that restands. This is the deck that gets 4 drives with 3 attacks. This is the deck that gets 3 attacks and does triple drive. If you're a standard player or Vanguard player, really, just like and subscribe to the channel. I remember to do that this time. Bam. All right,
let's go. He actually took my advice for once. You should show a visual cue as well while you're at it.
Move on to premium. So one thing with premium right now is that a lot of people are saying it's quite stale. There's no product released for it except for the great entry-level premium start deck that was released this year, which is the greatest. Thank you for entry-level start deck. There is no product though. We need product. It's getting boring. The format is just getting stale. There's no way around it. And if you're not supporting...
So this is about premium. In case you didn't click, this is about premium. The deck sets are indeed amazing though.
A game is going to become like V, where people will just go, you know, if Bushu doesn't want to support this, why should we bother playing? And it's sad that Japan doesn't care about premium as much, but then again, they get no events. So it's like a catch... What's the catch?
Negative feedback loop. That is the word you're looking, or the term you're looking for. It's negative feedback loop, where you're just basically negatives are reinforcing one another and just continuously going on and on and on. But catch 22 is the phrase he's actually looking for.
22 or 33, I don't know. It's like a circular loop. No events means no one cares. No one cares means no events. I feel like that's squandering a huge opportunity for Bushu. Premium, having multiple formats like this is one of the biggest advantage I feel like that Bushu has over other games, because every other game is just one format except for Magic, which is actually Magic is only one format. It's called Commander. No one cares about anything else. But yeah, no, seriously, Vanguard has this unique scenario where people care about the premium format, especially in the West. Last year as well for Worlds. Last year for Worlds, people were very interested in the premium stream. It was crazy. So if they don't do anything about
yeah, that there was quite a lot of viewership for it.
Premium. I did that poll. I did that poll before on Twitter. Of course, on Twitter, no one, who really cares? Who uses Twitter that much? But I think the result was that the question that I asked was, if premium did not exist, would all the premium players move to standard? And 30% of the players said they just quit, and like 70 or 69 players, right, want to be more exact, said they'll just play standard. But a lot of
the Udman Legion moment of hype as shit. Yeah, it's like stuff like that we had in the Invitational goes to show the cool side of premium, and I'm really glad that a lot of the people that showed up to the Invitational, they brought decks for the premium players for the Invitational. They brought decks that were very cool to show as like, hey, this is what makes premium cool.
One of them did say in the comments that they'll move to standard but play like way less. And when you mean by play way less, it's they won't play as much. They really probably will just quit. Let's be real. There's so many opportunities out there. You can play Lucana, you can play One Piece, you can play Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! There are so many games out there that you can play. You don't have to play standard if you don't like it. So
especially now, like games are coming out at such a crazy pace right now that you can literally, like, I think people are burning out in Japan, especially because Japan, you guys get a lot of games. Japan gets even more games. People literally burn out of how many new card games are coming out, and they just go back to the original games they used to play instead of trying out all the new ones anymore. It's like, even if the new game is hype, like when Dragon Ball first came out in Japan, people were jumping on it. Serial Goku, crazy, and then Conan, right? And then now it's Hololive. But I think now with Hololive coming out, it's just like, man, I can only do so much. I only have so much time. Most people are working adults. Like, man.
I feel there'll be more people who'd quit, and it'd be a devastating thing. But you should embrace that we have premium. You should just embrace the different ways you can engage with Vanguard. Because I feel like you don't really have the opportunity to say no. You can't say no to this, because Vanguard itself is not that big. If people are engaging in Vanguard in these different formats, then just keep them. It's not like V, where it's just this really weird format that everyone wanted gone. Premium is actually something that people want to stay. They want to play it, they just don't have an opportunity to play it. And when they do now, it's just the same thing they've been playing. So
yeah, this is also the Japanese side, in a nutshell. It's like, there are people that want to play premium, but you don't give them a chance, and now they're playing One Piece.
Make some more premium product, make some good premium ban list, and hopefully the format becomes better. One thing I do want to say as well is with Banlist and the overall, I guess, English handling of stuff, especially Banlist, right? You guys can be a bit more creative, think outside the box. Even with products, you can think outside the box. Overall, think outside the box. That's just what I'm going to say. Think outside the box.
That is literally the conclusion I think we've all been having here.
Let's for example, Banlist. You can just copy Japan. It'd be the most predictable thing, but it really wouldn't sit by well for a lot of the players that are playing the current game, right? Let's go back to when, you know, Shiranui got restricted in Japan, but not in English, because Luwad, Sergon just came out, and you don't want to hit her. You could have hit other things. You could have just half banned Shiranui, for example, like say no OT, no Drag Vader for Shiranui. That would have been a pretty creative hit. Would have lowered the power of Shiranui, and then you could have done another hit for Luwad to slightly lower the power of Sergon to keep everything in check, and that format might have been insanely good, right? A checked Shiranui or a slightly weaker Shiranui, a slightly weaker Luwad with a bunch of other decks that are available, that could have been a very good meta. But if you just follow Japan, that's never going to happen. Also with...
And in Japan, it was a good meta because those decks didn't overstay their welcome. Because the ban list does usually come... Still doesn't come on time in Japan. I do think sometimes it does come late. But there are some, like, especially in right now, there's a discussion of like, does Shoujo Doji need a hit? It's like, well, kind of, but it's like anything you hit hurts way too much because the enabler is the Vanguard. So
things like product,
and I guess
like I talk about the reprint product with ride lines and all that. You could print promos and things. Just don't do the mask. Don't do the mask set. You can do anything else but the mask set. But I feel like you could do a lot more entry-level product stuff for the West as well, because we desperately need it. We desperately need that product. So I don't know. Think outside the box a bit. Engage the audience. I've been talking about how way back we had the polls for clans that asked basically.
Dude, I literally have an unuploaded video where I go over this exact thing he's gonna talk about.
Entire play base. What is your favorite card for each nation? For each clan, and they created sleeves, deck boxes, mats, play mats for them, and you know that was really cool.
And that the person, I'm pretty sure, because this poll happened in G. I remember the old Vanguard producer I was telling you about yesterday. You know what he's doing now. And good ideas, they're not respected. They come and go.
Engaged a lot of the audience to do stuff. It gave you
One Piece, no. Not One Piece. He is, I mean, Kai said it, but he is a pro Street Fighter player. That should blow my mind, but I don't want to. I don't know if that I mean, you can connect the faces, but
we showed an idea on what people wanted, like Chi Girl Adelaide, and I think that was perfect. That was great. That was a great way to engage the audience and create a new product. We don't get that anymore. We just get stuff from Japan, which is kind of sad. And the once per year mask set, which is not good. Don't do the mask set. Never do the mask set. If you're going to do the mask set, hit me up. I'll tell you not to do it, or I can.
This is great.
Set. Never do the mask set. If you're going to do the mask set, hit me up. I'll tell you not to do it, or I can at least tell you how to make it slightly better. Like put in like 10 booster packs or something, so it's worth it. But yeah, don't do that mask set ever again. And I guess the last thing I do want to talk about, and that's been on a lot of people's minds.
It's a miracle we even got the FR packs. Yeah, dude, and like, and so late too.
It's D-Days. D-Days 2. That's the crazy new.
Oh, now we're talking the topic of the week. This is the goo.
Drama that's been popping off Twitter. I've seen so many posts about it. I'm gonna throw it out there. D-Days 2 is not very good. It doesn't look very good, and this is probably not English's fault. This is probably not Busho International's fault, but maybe get our thoughts to the JP side and see what happens, right? Because I'm gonna be real. I feel like, let me break things down. This is just my theory. It's a game, not a game theory, but it's just my theory. So take it with a grain of salt. I feel like people are mad at D-Days 2 not because D-Days 2 is a bad product, but that's just one of the reasons why they dislike it, but because they're being. It feels like their intelligence is being insulted, right? When D-Days 1 came out, it wasn't that great. in a way, but it was like the first time it came out for English, worldwide release on Steam, crazy. But then all this stuff happened with things like the DLC, the price, all that. And then when D-Days 2 comes out, nothing has changed. So it's not a great product, it's a bad product, but then where the customers, everyone involved with Vanguard are going, you know, you could have spent that money on D-Days 2 on literally anything else, because there's a lot of things that could be improved, and it would have been better. Think about it. The money spent on D-Days 2 could be spent on better prizes, more.
My only question is Vanguard in a good spot or not? Like, do we need all of this in the game? What do you mean by that? Do you mean, is Vanguard in a good spot, therefore they can ignore all of this? I don't think that matters. I think even when, like, look at Pokemon, right? Pokemon is never Pokemon is never not in a good spot. Pokemon has always been in a good spot. It's the biggest franchise in the world. But they keep pushing the limit. They keep pushing to the top. They keep showing that there's more that can be done. They keep showing that there's more ways to innovate and to keep growing. It doesn't matter if Vanguard is growing. Even though they're not capitalizing on the fact that Divines is the biggest, most growing part of the franchise, and they're not capitalizing on the fact that they're the only card game left with a running anime. Despite that, the game is growing. It's big. It's popular. It's not One Piece popular, but it's, you know, not many games are, but it's popular for a card game. Being complacent with, well, it's you know, big participation and, you know, finally the promos are good enough, right? It doesn't matter. All these other companies, even if they're at the top, they keep innovating. If you don't keep innovating, well, you're gonna slip out, right? And then once you fuck up, once you do a V series and you lose majority of your player base, then you can't rely on that. Well, it was fine anymore. If you didn't innovate, you slipped up. Vanguard is growing, yet our events, prizes, and product lag behind every other card game out there. I mean, what would it be like if we were at the same level as their competitors? Yeah, it's like I always feel this way. It's like, imagine how, like, okay, we have so many new players now. Imagine how many more we'd have if we had a good entry product that whenever somebody comes up to me and goes, hey, I'd like to get into Vanguard, what should I buy? I can actually give them a good answer. I don't have to go like, well, you see, there are these Stride deck sets and there's this Orphis deck, and then technically you need to buy this deck full of vanillas just for this one card. And also, actually it's the star decks from 3 years ago. It's like, just give us that. Virgilia deck set, okay, yeah, one product, but give that for every nation, right? It's really, that's the problem, is that they don't snowball. They don't want to snowball. They don't commit resources that would result in a snowball effect. They land one lucky shot and go, oh shit, let's go, we landed it. Whoa, we did it. Finally, we landed the money shot. And then that's it. And then they don't throw until they run out of the winnings from the money shot. And they're like, oh shit, throw another idea, Vanguard 0. Oh shit, let's go. Vanguard 0 in the West was so big. Nice, money shot, let's go. We can chill for a bit now. Like, no, you can never afford to chill. You should always be trying to innovate. And there are ways you can innovate that your competitors can't. I keep saying this, but you are the only card game out there that has an anime running. Make more use of that. You are making good use of it. You're having voice actors at all these events and stuff in Japan, just like you were doing in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 and 2014 and 2015. Notice the pattern. You've been doing it this whole time. You're not innovating. You're just repeating good practices. And that's fine. That's also important. It's also important to repeat good practices. But please, patch up the issues. You know, Kai didn't even talk about the fact that distribution in many parts of the world is just horrible. Like, not even talking about like Latin America and stuff like that, but like, look at Europe not getting promos, not getting getting events rescheduled without any notice, like stuff like that. Like, these are unacceptable things that is like, invest resources so these things don't happen, right? Pay the right people and invest the right resources to prevent these issues, because the other card games in Europe are not having these issues. We are changing that, bro. Cards, then you give me reassurance. I hope so.
products being released, better events, but it instead got spent on D-Days 2. And if you're not fixing any of the issues with D-Days 1 and still coming with things like a release date for sets that are 6 months behind, who is gonna buy it? They gave you a pass with D-Days 1. Some people gave you a pass with D-Days 1, but for D-Days 2, I don't think they are. Let's break down some of the D-Days 2 issues. So people are saying it's like the old Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championships or Tag Force sets where you just buy it and it's good. You have fun and that's it. The thing is, those came out with the latest cards. We didn't have to wait 6 months after the card was released before it got played.
It's also like, the other reason why I don't like this argument is like, it's like, oh, Tag Force was fun, therefore it's fine if we get a Tag Force game. It's like, the environment of the market was completely different when Tag Force and World Championship games were out. Now we live in a world of Master Duel and PTG Live and MTG Arena, right? It's like Halo 3 and Call of Duty Black Ops were very good games. But now we live in a world of Valorant and Apex and all this other stuff. You can't just release a game that is on the level of Halo 3 and Call of Duty Black Ops. You have to release a game that is on the level of Valorant and Apex, right? It's the same in any other genre. You have to keep up with the competition. You can't just be looking at what was like, you can't be settling for this like, well, it's just like what was good back in the day. It's like, example Concord, dude. Champions Battle smokes DD, dude. Pack watch.
So there was that value associated with it. And also, Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards are very, very expensive. $2,000 for a deck, or you can buy the latest PSP game that came out with the latest cards. Sure, I'm buying the PSP game. There's a lot of value for that. D-Days, not that much. You're paying top dollar for a set that came out 6 months ago. And then you have to pay like more and more money for more DLCs for the latest sets that are coming out 6 months ago. So that's not good. The other argument is that D-Days is good for the people who don't have a locals or live very, very far away from a locals or don't have anyone to play Vanguard with, but they can at least engage with Vanguard this way. And I'll put it this way. You make any Vanguard product and it'll do the same thing. You'll literally be the same thing. Think about what you could actually do with D-Days or overall an official sim, a Master Duel-like sim for Vanguard. Let me be clear here. Master Duel is not up to date. It is not up to date with the TCG, but it has its own format. So there's still value in playing that. Also, it's very, very accessible for...
Yeah, when you said any product, I was like, I'm gonna fill in the digital in my brain here.
everyone to play. So that's one of the big pluses. So one of the things we have to address here is that Vanguard is still not very accessible, but with a sim, it could be more accessible. It could be a way to get people in the game. That's what people really, really want. But if you wanted to make it like Master Duel, then you can. Think of the possibilities you can do with a Master Duel-like sim for Vanguard. You could have something like you could include old cards for one, and then you can put it with the new D cards, and you can have its own format. You can try new things, new formats.
He's cooking. Hold up, he's cooking. Ultimately, the argument is players want a digital sim. I don't think any other card game will quell the issue. I don't know how Japan feels, but the lack of Twitter blowout in Japan highlights the difference. Yeah, there is like a light. If you look at the QRTs of the DD2 announcement, there are some people saying like having a bit of qualms, but I think it also comes down to the fact that this argument of like giving, like what Kai also mentioned, is like, well, people think of the people that don't have a card shop near them. It's like in Japan, that's like borderline unimaginable unless you live in the like actually a farm in the middle of nowhere. But even then, it's like take public transport, you'll get to a city that has a card shop, right? So like that argument, that's why like online sims for Japanese card games didn't exist for so long, is because the Pokemon TCG Online existed because it's made by the international company of Pokemon, not the Japanese one. Because the Japanese one is like, just go to locals. What are you doing, right? Why would you invest resources into this? Just make them go to locals, right?
That's to play.
But he's cooking. He's cooking. I like what he's cooking.
Have like formats where there's like no force markers or whatever, and just try out new things. Experiment. People will be. You can kind of just revert back to D if you just want to play with D cards only. But there's so many things you can do with that then, because you can just engage with Vanguard. It'd be a totally new format and create new content with it. you can teach people how to play, and it'd be hopefully affordable. There's a lot of monetization systems you can do.
Like, it's still, Zero was bloated with issues. Zero had so many issues, and the monetization was horrible. The systems were pretty bad, but so many people played Zero. So many people got into Zero. Its release schedule and, you know, kind of like power creep threw people out of it. You know, Shady Penguin didn't stay very long, and that's a very good example of that being mismanaged. But it should have given them an example of, hey, if you could improve on, like, look how good this game did despite how badly you made it. Despite all the issues and problems that Zero had, look at how successful it was and for how long, right? Until it really dropped the ball in G, it really, I think until G was doing very, very well, especially with the timing it came out at. And it goes to show that there's a market. They should have also told them there's a market of Vanguard players, which now are, you know, get marketed to by encounters, that really miss those old days of old Vanguard. And, you know, they now are like, whoa, I can replay this on my phone. That's great. Right. And there's so many people like that, I remember, during the early days of Zero. And instead of like doing just Deer Days 2, you could have taken lessons from Deer Days 1 and from Zero and made the ultimate product, made the ultimate online card game from your lessons from those two. But it feels like they've just ditched everything they learned from Zero. It feels like nothing. It feels like Zero just existed just to cushion the pandemic, just to, you know, it wasn't developed with the intent of the pandemic. Zero was supposed to release in 2018. I was literally watching the announcement stream of Zero literally yesterday. And I saw the producer talk about it, and how it was delayed and all the issues they had and how nervous, you know, like the producer of Zero considered quitting the company because he was so nervous and stressed about, you know, making Zero and worried that it would not work out. So I'm sure seeing especially how well it did in the West on the release must have been a huge relief for them, right? It's, you know, there's so many things that as a producer you have to balance as well, and there's so many different people's voices that you have to consider too. But it feels like everything that was learned from Zero is just thrown out the window. It's like you're just sticking to these console games all the time when this could be growing. When you look at how much Master Duel has grown Yu-Gi-Oh!, which didn't even need the growth. It's already one of the biggest card games to exist. It's like, but it got it, and now it continues to ride on that tide, right? It's crazy.
You have people pay for it. That's not $70. If it's $70 or
MD wasn't even finished when Konami dropped it. Was it?
Monetization systems you can do, you can have people pay for it. That's not $70. If it's $70 or whatever, like if it's those new game pricing, then it better be really, really good, which currently Deer Days 2 isn't, which is why a lot of people are complaining. But otherwise,
would people complain if Deer Days is more like Shadowverse Champions Battle, or will no argument work if it isn't a battle sim for the global player base? No, I think there will be an audience that does want nothing but a battle sim, but at the very least, Champions Battle has so much innovation, and it really, Champions Battle doesn't feel like a card game, console game. It feels like it's a JRPG that has a card game in it. Is the difference between the two to me. It like Champions Battle, yeah, it feels like an old school card game RPG. Is like it's the old Yu-Gi-Oh games, not the World Championship or the Tag Force ones. It's like the Roses and like the GBA ones. Like it's one of those. I like, for example, I remember Bakugan had a console game, the very first one. I played that shit so much, and that felt like it was a RPG with Bakugan in it. And it was so cool. And it's like Champions Battle felt very similar to, for me, with that in regard. And the PS2 Wii, whatever you played it on, I played it on the Wii. Yeah, PS, Wii, and Xbox. Yeah, that one.
It's gonna be a lower price. I think a lot of people are jumping on the microtransactions hopium, and I mean, I'm personally not a huge fan of microtransactions. If you look at what happened with Zero, yeah. I think it speaks for itself, right? So
I also do agree, like microtransactions are not the answer. It's a good game. It's like, it doesn't, just slapping microtransactions on a free-to-play Deer Days is not gonna solve anything. Right.
Not a huge fan of microtransactions, but if it's fair microtransactions, maybe it's okay, even though microtransactions aren't always fair. But basically, let's not talk about the money part here, but if there was a good way for people to engage at least with the Vanguard game, that'd be good. Especially if it was a way to play Vanguard that was not just standard, playing in a boring format that we've played for a very, very long time, but something fresh and new that people can engage with, and you can run tournaments that. You can make that a relevant kind of game.
Yes, please. Even now with Year Days 2 coming out, please put a spectating mode. Please make it content creator friendly. Please be aware of the climate that you're in. Like, look at other video games. They grow because they have streamers playing them. You have content creators that want to make content about this game. Make it a tiny bit easier for them. Let them host tournaments. Let them do something. It has to be a fair microtransaction. Like Yugi had Duel Links, which was basically a greedy gacha game, and now there's MD where you can craft cards and it's FTP friendly. And even Duel Links had more free-to-play eras as well. It got pretty bad during 5Ds, I would say.
Aim for competitive play. That's what Master Duel is doing. They have their Master Duel. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds just happened. They have their own Master Duel format that happened. And as long as the format doesn't require you to spend like 24 hours a day to qualify for Worlds, grinding the ladder for 2 weeks, then I think it's good. I think it's good. So there's a lot of creativity they can do there with Master Duel that I think that something that's like Master Duel that they're not doing, and it's a huge missed opportunity for Vanguard in general. So I guess that's kind of my quick thoughts on Master Duel. There's a lot of things that have already been said that, you know, I don't think I'll need to say, but that's basically all the things I really want to say about Year Days 2. It's just not great at the moment. It's not good, and I don't think they're going to change it because it's coming out in January. So yeah, that's it. So I think that's a huge rant for me. As you can see, I think the tide is definitely getting closer, so I think I have to move now. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what...
I get confused between Master Duel, Year Days 2, and Master Days 2.
Just think in the comments below. I hope the waves aren't too loud, but
they were fine.
It's nature, right? So thanks for listening, everyone, and I'll see you all next time. All right, bye.
Oh damn, we get an ending. Shit, damn, we get an ending screen. That's crazy. It's like an anime ED. Me and Kai and like Derek to an extent, and like, you know, other close friends of mine will constantly go like, fuck, again, they're not doing enough. Again, they're doing this thing. Again, it's like this, and it's like the same complaint over and over again in this one friend group, basically. But then I do feel like these issues need to be raised in public more and more and more. And Bouchard needs to be made aware of the fact that they're not doing enough more and more and more. And Bouchard Japan needs to realize that just because Bouchard International is aware of what's wrong, they need to listen to what they're saying, because Bouchard International is their path into the Western market. If you don't listen to the feedback that that is being gathered and given by your overseas branch properly and don't incorporate it, then what is the point of having an overseas branch in the first place, right? There's like some very inner ground level things within the management systems of like how this information and feedback circulates within Bouchard that needs to be changed or addressed or improved, right? Whichever one. I keep saying we hear you and we live overseas, but we're not feeling it. Yeah, it's like every time Kidani goes like, oh, look at this beautiful game sold in all these different countries and all these different languages and globalization. It's like, you don't, like, you say globalization, but you don't mean globalization. You're using the word because it's trendy, but your actions don't reflect on globalization enough. Bushi Expo, I think, is a cool way of doing globalization, but I wish that your community engagement reflected on globalization more. Please. A very, very strong request from your community ambassador.